When I think about you, when I think about you, I can't thank you enough for your mercy and love. When I think about you.
Welcome to the Unscripted podcast.
We're Tori and Shauna, and you're listening to our song called When I Think About You.
Available on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you enjoy your favorite songs.
But for now, let's listen in to your host
and our friend, Aaron Conrad.
All right, welcome back to Unscripted from my studios, powered by the Spot Athletics. And he's been here more times than any other guest. We do this, it seems like annually. He needs no introduction, but hey, everybody, it's Gary Miracle. Welcome back, Gary.
Hey, everybody, it's Gary Miracle. Kurt Harding.
Not Kurt Harding.
No.
Most people won't get that, but that's okay.
Nope. Kurt will. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. That's right.
Hey, man, dude, this is great. Annually is not a we talk weekly about doing this, and it just ends up annually. So, but nonetheless, here we are.
Here you are, brand new office. You got some brand new pictures on the background. It looks great. Welcome to your new office.
Welcome to the circus.
Welcome to the circus, and we will get to that. We'll get to the family. So welcome back, man. It's hard to believe. I was thinking about this morning. Gosh, time goes really fast. I feel like it's been 2 years now, almost 2 years to the day-ish that we did our first interview.
Since the first one.
Isn't that crazy?
2 years.
2 years. That is crazy when I was thinking about this morning.
It is. Man, time is flying. Time is flying.
And a lot has happened in those 2 years.
Yes. There's so the first time I was on here, this dude sent me an email asking me to come share my story. And I was like, okay. And, I got to share my story. So I can give like the elevator pitch.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. For the first timers. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So really, I celebrated, which I guess celebrated is kind of a weird word, but it's where I'm rolling with it. And the attempt at my glass half full version of telling my story, but I just celebrated my 3-year anniversary of dying.
That's right.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
It didn't stay dead because I'm here.
That would be really awkward.
So I just celebrated that. It was right after Christmas 2016. I got sick. Things got worse and worse and worse. At 7:18 a.m. on January 1st, 2020, I died laying on a hospital bed and was laying there for 11 minutes, lifeless. They pounded on me. 11 minutes later, they got a slight pulse back in me and went to work. Ended up being in a coma for 10 days. I woke up from a coma by the grace of, looked at my body. My arms and legs were pitch black, hard as a rock, so hard you could take a hammer and hit it, make it sound like you were hitting concrete. And long story short, 107 days later, I left the hospital without hands and legs. So I am a 3-year quadruple amputee doing life with no limbs. And that's where I'm at. There's more. You can go back and check out the very first Unscripted. You Google it. Unscripted is getting its name up there, and the platform is amazing. Aaron, what you've done with this is amazing, and the people that you've reached and the people that you've talked to and interviewed is
crazy.
I felt really cool at first. I'm like, I am the dude that got interviewed, but now it's like, oh my gosh, I got to catch up to the other dudes that have been interviewed and dudettes.
That's right.
Not trying to go there, but yeah, man, you've given a platform for people to talk, and you always say all you do is click record, but man, at the end of the day, your clicking record gives people like me a voice to somebody who wants to listen. So your clicking record allows my story to hopefully not go in vain, and you and I's relationship. And this is the sappy part. And then,
we can get over it. Right.
We'll get just out of the way. But
That's right.
man, just grateful, honored, hope that this can be annually for the next 50 years and we can roll with this. But let's get some updates going. Let's talk about what life has looked like for both of us, man. So much has happened. There's been so many highs and lows of lows on both of our ends. And man, I just want to get it out of me and share with the village that we have. So
well, welcome back. And I actually was just thinking of this. You actually slept on a bed in the studio that we're sitting, where I'm sitting.
I mean,
isn't that crazy?
You weren't in there.
No.
Okay, let's
not together. Yeah, it was
there. Yes, I slept. I'm looking behind you. I slept on that floor on a, I don't know, an air mattress or a bed. I crawled my little crippled butt in there and climbed up on the bed, and I slept in your studio.
You did.
Can't say that, can you, Mark? Pray.
He is scheduled to be in Hilliard this summer, but I don't think he'll stay here or in this room. But anyway, that just tells you guys kind of the story of just, man, the last 2 years has been awesome. I've been down to Florida. I've made great friends down there now, your family, and got to meet your new extended family. So let's start there, man. So the last time we talked, there's been some additions to the family. Yeah. So what's going on there?
So we're going to take a step back, and say, well, about a year after everything went down with me, my wife at the time, we decided to go different ways. It's neither here nor there, but I went through a season, and I think people can relate to some of these seasons right here. So I hope we can piece this together, because I think dusting over a lot of the little details and a lot of the little emotions kind of make the story too vague. And I hope that at some point in something that you and I say right now, somebody can just drop the old, like, dang, like, me too. Like, I've been there. I felt that. So it was August 12th of 2021. And I found myself in a home with no wife and no kids 50% of the time, with no arms and legs. If there was a time that I had ever felt hopeless, unloved, unwanted, undesired, unchosen, any of those things, like it was in that season there. And I grew in that season. And then I sat in that season. I made good choices in that season. I made bad choices in that season. And it culminated to Halloween night. It was Halloween night, October 31st on 2021 was, and this may sound crazy to hear, but through everything that I have been through, that night was the darkest night of my life. It was a holiday. It was the first holiday that I got to spend, or had to spend, I should say, alone without my kids there, for the very first holiday since I had kids, my first holiday without kids. And it happened to be the holiday that every kid in the neighborhood was ringing my doorbell. Yeah. So I saw families laughing and dressed up and having a good time. So much so that I didn't last that long. I didn't last that long at all. I want to say kids started knocking on my door around 6, and by 6:30, I had all the lights off in the house, and I was in the fetal position, laying in my bed. And if we're getting really real, if there was ever a night that I was going to do something to end my life, it would have been that night. 100 billion%. It got that dark in me. And I don't know why. The only thing that I can relate it to, and I think I discussed this in one of our prior interviews, but a lot of people ask me if I have any memories or thoughts or visions from when I was in my 10-day coma in early January of 2020. And unfortunately, the only memories that I have were nightmares. And those nightmares were it was the same nightmare in a different location every time. And the nightmare was I was in the corner of a room in a glass cage, watching life go by, watching my family live life without me. And I remember banging on this glass as hard as I could to try to get somebody to hear me, or see me, and nobody did. And even in my nightmares, I remember trying to take my life in my nightmares. And I had that real life version that night on Halloween, October 31st, 2021. And it was so dark, and I cried and I cried and I screamed and I bit my pillow and I yelled and I cussed and I prayed. And I went through every possible emotion I think that a human can have. And eventually I just fell asleep. And I think falling asleep was God's hand stepping into that, because I had pills laying on my bedside table. I had enough alcohol in my house. Like, I had things where I could have done, but I fell asleep.
Yeah.
And I think that was God's grace. And this is the beauty in the ashes. I woke up November 1st, 2021, completely different. Completely different. I can't explain it. Unexplainable. Peace that passes all understanding, right? Like, it didn't make sense. But I woke up November 1st and I was smiling. It was okay. My heart wasn't pounding. My thoughts were negative. I wasn't in a bad, dark place, and I was okay. So much so that I actually spent a couple of days like, God, am I just getting really good at fake it till you make it kind of thing? And am I just getting really good at shoving this down or masking it? Whatever the case may be. So I spent a couple of days just praying about that, and the feeling never went away. Like, the feeling of peace and joy and a smile didn't go away. And then it got to the point, and this is a really long story. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It got to the point where it led me up to right around Thanksgiving. I spent 3 weeks kind of sitting in that moment. Led me up to around Thanksgiving, and my daughter and my oldest son looked at me. I was like, Dad, like, let's go. Like, when are you going to put yourself back out there?
Well,
so I did the weird Facebook dating thing and put that out there. And I knew that, if you were to click on my profile, you were going to, I put pictures of me, and like, you knew that I didn't have hands and legs, and you knew, what you were clicking on with me. Cause I'm didn't want to go down this weird path, but I got to have a couple of really encouraging conversations, and it made me feel like a real person again, and nothing through that panned out. And I think, again, that was just God just reassuring me that He's got me in that moment. Yeah. And it's weird because we say that this is like a year from you and I, or 2 years from you and I doing this call. Well, it was March 11th, what's today? The 14th. So March 11th, but 3 days ago, 1 year ago. So 1 year ago, I was at my kids' spring concert that they do. They're in the band and in the chorus at their school. And I was sitting at this concert. It was the Friday before spring break last year. I got the kids in spring break last year. So at that concert, and I saw this girl there. And it's a girl that I've seen for 4 or 5 years at that point. We had gone to church. We had gone to the same church. We didn't really know each other at that time, but we'd gone to the same church. So I knew of her. I knew who she was. And she had gone through a separation in her marriage prior to this as well. And then I just remember seeing her at this concert, and I was able to see her in a way that I didn't see her before. So I was able to see her in that way at that time, and felt weird. I felt like I was 14 again. I had like the nervous little butterfly, like, oh my gosh, this girl, like, woo, yeah. She is smoking gorgeous. So that was cool too. And, I left that Friday and I went to Dallas, Texas to the Great Wolf Lodge with my kids for spring break. And I was just thinking about her, and I was praying about her and praying about why I had these feelings and whatnot. And then come home from spring break that next week, and it was March 18th. So we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary, and I did what every normal man would do. I said hi to her on Facebook. It was not the cowardly thing to do at all, but I said hi to her on Facebook Messenger, and she will tell you that she saw it a couple days later. I think it was 10 seconds, and she said hi back. and literally, but it was high and high back. And, you know, that's kind of been the running joke that Jenna and I have had. And Jenna and I just started talking, and come to find out, she saw me at that spring concert as well. And she had the same kind of emotions and feelings, but didn't know what to do with them. So when I reached out, it was a very easy conversation to have. So we started talking, took about a month or so. We introduced our kids to each other, and we just started growing and knowing each other and knowing each other well and deeper. And I think we were both in that season, like, okay, we're 40 now. Like, sorry, I just told the world how old my wife is. She's older than me.
Is that right?
And she always will be.
I'll edit this part.
Okay.
On this part.
So, you know, we were in that season, like, we're not just gonna, like, this is going to be intentional. So let's do this with a purpose. And we did, and we walked through it, and we did a lot of praying, a lot of talking, and we talked, oh my goodness gracious, we talked so much, and we got to know each other so quickly. We introduced to each other in May-ish. So we, you know, we tried to take some time to do that. We introduced our kids, and our kids went to the same school, and they're the same ages, and they're in the same grades, and they already knew each other, and it was comfortable, and it was wonderful. And then in June, on June 20th, I was like, forget this. Like, I'm going to ask this woman to spend the rest of her life with me. So I did. And she said yes. And, you know, going from a year prior to being dark and thinking I was never going to be chosen again because of the way that I look and my situation and my condition. And Jenna chose me like this. And she said yes when I asked her to spend the rest of her life with me on June 20th. And then June 21st, we wake up. The very next morning, we wake up, and it was my grandmother's birthday. So I had the emotions of wanting to celebrate that. And I also woke up to the news that my grandfather passed away. That within 30 minutes of each other, I'm celebrating my grandmother's life and mourning my grandfather's death.
Yeah.
And Jenna she came over, and she was standing there with me, and I was like, you know, I am firsthand. Can I say that still? Firsthand proof. I am first stump proof that life it can go away. I mean, my life went from happy all-American life. 6 days later, I'm laying on a hospital bed dead. So I'm like, forget this. Like, Jenna, let's go. And she was all in. She was with me. We went to the courthouse on June 21st at 1 p.m. and we just got married. So we have been together, and that is the circus. I don't know how well you can see it behind me, but that's Jenna and I have my 4 kids, and she has 3 kids. So we have 7 kids. It is the Barnum and Bailey circus in my house. It is a lot.
Yeah.
But by the grace of God, we synced up our child sharing schedules. So every weekend, it's so much in our house, but every other weekend, it's just Jenna and I, and we get to have that sacred time together. And Jenna is my person. She knows me. She sees through me. She knows when I get excited. She knows when I get arrogant. She humbles me. She loves me. She prays for me. She prays over me. She is everything that God created for me in this season. And I'm thankful for her and crazy about my big family. I've always wanted a big family. God gave me a big family. So that is the very long story long about the big picture right there and what has happened regarding my family in the last year. So what questions do you have, Aaron?
Well, I can tell my side of the story. I was in, and I'm going to say this, and I say it humbly, we were on our 25th anniversary. That's why we were here, but we were in Hawaii. I'm on the beach, and you mentioned Mark Price. I got a text from Mark because I think I tweeted something about our anniversary or something. And so, and I at the time really didn't still know him very well, but I got a text from him and I got a text from you. And I remember the text from you was saying, I need you in Florida. And there was a date. And I'm like, what's going on? What's going on? This was early June. And I'm like, all right, Heath, I guess I got to go to Florida. But then the point I wanted to make is I looked at her and I showed her the phone and I said, like, don't ever let me forget, like, that these 2 guys back to back, just text, right? Like, and I've said that before in other episodes, but man, it's just so humbling to me. And I don't ever want to take for granted the fact that like I got to talk to two heroes back to back, sitting on the beach in Hawaii. You know what I mean? And so just to throw the flowers back at you a little bit, you know, I told Heather that, you can ask her, I said, don't let me ever forget this, and how just amazing it is that I get to do this and that I get to be friends with these guys. But at the same time, I said, looks like I'm going to Florida. And so I remember went back to the room later that day and pulled up the laptop and was trying to find flights and text the tourist agent that got us the Hawaii trip and said, hey, how do I get to Florida the best and fastest way possible? And so anyway, made that schedule. And sure enough, by the time I got there, it was already done. You were already married.
Yeah.
So,
I had plans. I tried to be smooth like jazz, and I was not. So you were late to the party, but you were still at the party.
I was at the party, and I showed up, and yeah, you talked about it. I was greeted at the door by two children. One was on rollerblades, and it was,
don't even know
noise.
which one. That could be any which one of them at this point.
There was noise everywhere. It was awesome. Got to spend the weekend with your brand new family now, and man, just enjoyed it so much. And man, I'm trying to think. I've been to Florida now 3 times.
Yeah.
First time was your race. And then back for that, and then back for the concert that we went to with Micah Tyler, where you spoke.
That's right.
It was amazing. An amazing weekend. Very quick trip, but amazing weekend.
And now looking forward, I need to get you and Heather on a cruise boat coming up here soon.
That's right.
So,
that's the next big update. Came out yesterday, right?
That's the next
yesterday, day before.
Yesterday, Monday. It was Monday. I guess that was yesterday, right? Yesterday, Tuesday. I don't know what today is. Monday at 10 a.m. Central Time. There's this really cool Christian band called Mercy Me, who does, look, you can Google, they've been around. They do this, they do a cruise every year called Mercy Me at Sea. That's their thing. They had to take a year or two off because of COVID stuff, but they're doing it again January of 2024. And they have invited me to join them and to be able to share my story and speak on the daily while we're on the cruise to everybody who comes on the cruise. So check out Mercy Me at Sea. You can Google that, but man, I want to pack that boat out for the cause of Christ and let's show these cruise terminals and these cruise ship employees and captains and all these people what it looks like, you know, to be alive and Christian. So super pumped about that. I'm going to start gearing up towards that. There's a lot of amazing people also going to be on that boat. Mentor mine, John Lynch, who wrote the book Pure, is going to be on that boat speaking as well. Tim Timmons, Christian artist, is going to be there singing and speaking. Rusty Kennedy, lifelong friend of Bart Miller, the lead singer of Mercy Me, and the band, and now they are family. Rusty's daughter married Bart's son just not that long ago.
Oh, wow.
So Sam Wesley got married to them. So they're family now. And for a one-time only again opportunity, 10th Avenue North is coming back together.
That's right.
For this Mercy Me at Sea cruise as well. And then obviously Mercy Me will be there. So check that out. And it's going to be a heck of a time. And who knows what could happen on the boat. Those guys are really great guys on and off the stage. So the cruise is going to be a great time. So check that out and please come. That'll be so fun. And you and Heather need to be there.
Yeah. Well, I sent it to the family chat yesterday because now it's harder now because I've got, we have 2 graduations in about 6 weeks. Austin will be graduating from college and then Bryn will be graduating from high school, but I will have 2 in college at that point with Emma and Bryn. And then, I don't know what Austin's career is going to be yet.
How old are you?
I know, right?
Whoa.
I know. But I don't know if they can make it, but Heather and I are going to be empty nesters, so we may be able to make it. And as soon as I saw it, I said, yeah, we got to go to this, especially John Lynch being there. And actually, Gary, I think I've been to Florida 4 times now. Because I was there for that too and got to meet John.
Oh, for that
one weekend.
The men's conference. Yeah, you have.
The men's conference. Yeah. So I think I've been there 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, you have.
How about that?
It's cool. Crazy. In
crazy.
2 years,
so
much.
I know. Well, let's make it 5 because actually, there's a chance I could be coming down at the end of April. I'll just leave that hanging out there. I'm not sure yet. Possibly. So I'll let you know.
Okay.
Good things happen when I come to Florida, man. Good things
Okay.
happen.
Or
I say that all the time.
listen, good things happen, or we're going to need bail money. One or the other. I don't know
It's
what could happen, but it will be memorable one way or the other.
Speaking of bail money,
Okay.
dynamite transition, Gary. Let's talk about. Your mind right now is going, oh boy, what's he going? No, recently you have been in a battle and it's for the right cause. So let's talk about that. Joking aside about bail money, but talk to me a little bit about, I know you've been sharing a lot of things on socials and things like that and put in Facebook jail. So unfortunately, bail money doesn't get you out of Facebook jail.
I don't know that you can even call this.
Bring us up to speed.
I got in Facebook prison with a life sentence.
Prison.
So my personal Facebook page, I don't know if something happened and I was put in Facebook jail and had to go through those flows. I think a lot of us have been at times, had to go through the flows and whatnot. But I got the word back that I am no longer allowed to use that account ever. And that account has been banned. So my personal Gary Miracle page, has been taken down. The hardest part is two really difficult parts in that, I lost a lot of memories. Of memories through that.
Right.
But also I had my Gary Miracle Speaks businessy type page that I could access through my personal page. So the Gary Miracle Speaks page is still up. And the last post that I posted will just forever be the last post that will forever be there because I have no way to get to it. And thirdly, Instagram was coupled with that as well. So Instagram was wiped out as well. So Gary Miracle had to start all over on Facebook. Now, with that said, it happened in a very timely season right here because here in the state of Florida, I have been kind of using my voice a little bit. When I woke up from my coma in January of 2020, I spent right around 6 or 7 days and I didn't have a voice. My vocal cords, I really don't even know the medical way to talk about this, but I didn't have a voice. I couldn't speak. I had to mouth everything that I wanted or needed. And some people who couldn't understand that I had to mouth letter by letter and they would write it down and try to piece together what I was saying. But I knew and I vowed in that moment that if I got my voice back, I was just going to use it to speak. And that's even where the name Gary Miracle Speaks came from. It's very literal. It came from a place. It came from a moment. And I didn't just want to speak to speak. I wanted to speak to be a squeaky wheel, to make a splash, to be able to speak for Christ and his glory, to be able to speak for people who couldn't speak for themselves, to be able to speak out of the overflow and the abundance of my heart and out of my convictions. And that's what's happening in Florida right now specifically. There's a tort reform bill that is coming that it could negatively impact the catastrophically injured people like myself. Even if it's 0% your fault, there are some things that are happening in Florida that they're wanting to limit our access to the courts and our access to insurance and our access to needs that we have. I'm 40 years old and I really am hoping I have another 50 years of life to live. And based on my situation, I'm going to have needs in those 50 years. My prosthetics are going to grow and change and technology is going to grow and change. And there's some things that they're trying to put some caps on what catastrophically injured people are allowed to have access to. So I'm trying to use my voice. This tort reform bill does not affect me personally in any way. I am out there fighting the fight and trying to scream from the rooftops as loud as I can for someone like me that this could happen to. So much so that just today, and I shared it on my new personal Facebook page, but today there was an article written about a speech that I gave in front of the Senate judiciary courts and the House legislation that I had the opportunity to attend a couple times last week. But just today, there was an article written about me in the Tampa Bay Times, in the Miami Herald, and in the Florida Today. So all of Florida Today, there's a huge article written in it, and I shared that. And the Florida Today article is actually going to be in Sunday. Tell your great grandparents when they check the newspaper Sunday morning that there's going to be an article in the paper. But again, I'm just trying to be a voice. I was in a room just the other day with this little 8-year-old girl who had a birth injury and she has some brain damage. And I said hi to her. She couldn't even say hi back. And we're marginalizing the people that have been injured and lumping us in with someone who had a fender bender and needs some insurance money to fix their car. We're kind of being all lumped in that along with people like me. Ultimately, what they're saying is negligence alone is it a right to stand up for yourself and fight for yourself if somebody was negligent towards you. And I personally feel that that's unfair. Now, the beauty about what I'm doing here is it has nothing to do, and I can't stress this enough, and I want people to know because, we could argue about politics tooth and nail, right? I think everybody can. Everybody has their passion. Everybody has their conviction. I am not standing up and fighting for Republicans or Democrats. The left or the right or the blue or the red means nothing to me right now. I am fighting and using my voice, trying to use my voice for people, not policies, and fighting and speaking for the people that spoke for me on those 6 days when I didn't have a voice. So right. I'm trying to pay it forward for the people that paid it to me. So, we're hoping to move the needle a little bit in this tort reform bill. There's a lot of things in this bill, a lot of things that I actually agree with that are great things, but I'm just fighting for this one little portion to be changed or removed and praying that somebody like me isn't going to be left moneyless and homeless and hopeless in the future, for something that they didn't really deserve to happen to them to begin with. So that's that. I know there's a lot of gray area when it comes to politics and what you think. So right. I'm praying if somebody hears this, that if you have comments or if you talk to other people about what may be going on, that you just remember to have grace with each other and for each other. Yeah. This is a gray area and there's nothing spiritual about this. There's nothing about this fight that is going to let us get into heaven or take us out of heaven. This isn't a salvation issue. So be gracious with each other when it comes to conversations like this, whether you're going to talk about what we're talking about, or just if you have conversations about politics in the future in general, just pray that we can all be gracious towards each other and with each other while we're having these conversations. So that's the little battle I'm in. May or may not be a reason I was taken off of Facebook for being a squeaky wheel. I don't know that I'll ever know. I don't even know that I want to spend too much time talking about it, because if the enemy was trying to take my voice away, I'm not going to give them the power for us and other people to even continue talking about it. We're just going to squash his head, start a new Facebook page, and come what may, and let's press on and keep fighting the good fight for the cause of Christ. That's kind of where we're at doing.
And you can find that it's Gary Miracle Jr. You guys search Gary Miracle Jr. on Facebook, right?
That is it. It used to be Gary Miracle Dose. So when I had to upload a picture of my driver's license to prove that it was me, when my old Facebook page got taken down, it didn't match. So, I went straight legal name, Gary Miracle Jr. You can't miss it. There's a cartoon picture of some bald-headed dude with prosthetic hooks and running blades on. So look me up, find me, and I'd be honored to be your friend again.
That's right. Well, and it's not Gary Miracle. That's your dad. And so everybody stop blowing up Gary's dad with notifications.
My dad is getting a lot of friend requests right now. And I am the man behind the miracles. So look for Junior specifically.
Another question somebody said was, is that really his name? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's really his name.
It really is.
Dude, I didn't realize that. I thought
people think I like it's my amputee stage name or something. Like I changed my name to Miracle because I had my arms and legs cut off. It is my birth name. Unfortunately, I'm trying to live up to it right now. And or fortunately, I don't know. Listen, believe that God doesn't make mistakes. He didn't mess up on me.
Right.
He knew that I was going to spend the second half of my life with no hands or legs. Long before my sorry self was even a thought of in this world, he knew this was going to happen to me. So how in the world, how dare I spend my whole life saying that God is good, and then something traumatic happened to me and I live my life like he's not. So I'm doing everything in my power to make sure that my story doesn't go in vain, which is what I alluded to when it came to you and this platform. And I just want to be faithful. I want to say yes. I want to run. I want to fight. I want to speak. I want to shout. I want to do all the things to make sure that somehow Christ is the center of attention in my life and in our conversations and in politics and in everything that I'm saying or doing. I'm trying to be prayed up and stored up and ready to roll.
Well, it's been amazing what you were saying that, because when we first had our first interview, I remember you shared the verse from Job, right? And it said, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. And you said, right now he's taking away. And when you said that, if you think about it, I don't even think you knew how much he wasn't done yet, with that. But at the same time, that is from Job. And at the end, God restored all of it. You know what I mean?
No.
And that's when I look behind you now, I see this picture of this beautiful family. And I know over the last 2 years, man, the journey you've been on, getting to speak and share your story, getting to go on trips and getting to do bucket list things. Man, like he is in the process of restoring versus where we were 2 years ago when we didn't know he wasn't quite done. Yeah. And I don't know, when we say I don't know if that was the enemy or God. Well, what I do know is that God was not done allowing what happened.
Yeah.
But like Job, he allowed that to happen because he knew the faith of the man. And I think that's been the case in your life that I've seen in you is, man, you've lost a lot. Some of us will never understand, but he knew the faith of the man, and now you're using your voice.
Yeah.
And he's restoring things back to your life.
I'm trying to, I believe I heard a quote not that long ago that behind every strong man is a story that gave him no choice. And, that is something that there's a line in the sand for us each and every day. What are we going to do? Are we going to sit on the couch? Or are we going to get up and fight? Are we going to not confront a bully, or are we going to, there's a line in the sand, there's a line in the sand in every decision that we make. Am I going to have lunch with this person today? Am I going to take this meeting or am I not? Am I going to do this? Like, we make decisions every day. To your point, there were, when I was in the hospital, there were, I want to say, I may be wrong in this number, but I want to say the number was 6. There were 6 people in one morning that reached out to my family and said, we had a dream last night that Gary is not going to lose his hands and legs. Wow. Very weird that 6 people in one day would call my family and share that. And it was very hopeful for my family, to think like, oh my goodness gracious. And, that is something that could be very confusing because obviously I did lose my hands and my legs. It could be very confusing. It could be something that's very divisive. It could be something very, we could find ourselves getting frustrated or angry or bitter at the Lord for that. But goodness gracious, man, I am here to tell the people that those 6 people that had that dream that I wasn't going to lose my hands and my legs, you weren't wrong. You weren't wrong. There's going to be a day that I'm going to be, there's going to be a day that I am going to be sprinting as fast as I possibly can down the streets of gold with my hands and my legs. So for anyone out there that feels like the Lord is not answering your prayers, or if you feel like he's not answering them quick enough, don't let go of that. God's not wrong. God is not a God of confusion. God didn't mess up. My pastor, Pastor Mark Ragsdale at Church of Vieira, who I'm actually having lunch with today, he has this mantra, and I have taken it on, and it's a brave one, but he says over and over, God, do what only you can do, and please do it now. God, do what only you can do, and please do it now. Knowing that he might not, knowing that his answer may be not yet, knowing that it may be in heaven when we get our answer, But while I'm here, I'm going to say, God, please do what only you can do and do it now. I'm praying that over this political situation that we're in. I'm praying that over some family situations, some things that my kids are going through right now. Just God, please do what only you can do, but please do it right now. But if not, I'm going to hold fast because I know you're not done. And man, I just want to urge and beg and plead with people to not give up. Help is on the way. So don't stop. Don't give up. Don't let the enemy win in whatever is happening in your life, because people have been looking at me till I'm blue in the face and tell me, like, I can never imagine what you're going through. I could never do that. You're such an inspiration. How you're taking all of this in stride is motivational. And man, my head can get puffed up big sometimes that I can barely fit through the door. Right. That's where Jenna comes in and humbles me. But I flip the script and, I share the Fork story all the time, but, there are some times that I would take what I am going through 100 times over than what some people are going through internally in their lives right now with anxiety and depression and pornography and finances and eating disorders. And I could go on and on and on of what struggles people have and the differences between me and you or mine are visible and yours aren't. And trust me, I got plenty of my own invisible struggles as well. And, I'm battling with all of that, but I think we're all going through something. I'm just going through it without hands and legs, but that doesn't make my struggle any less than anybody else's. And the way that people have been there for me and how I said, I'm trying to use my voice to pay it forward for people that spoke for me when I couldn't. And I'm trying to do that. If we can figure out a way to link arms together instead of push each other away because of what we think is our convictions or what we believe is right or wrong in the here and now, goodness gracious, it has nothing to do with what we get to do in heaven. And when we get to heaven, none of this stuff is going to matter. None of it's going to matter. I sat under a pastor 2 weeks ago in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who told everybody to hold out their hand. And I thought that was very offensive, on one hand, but he told everybody to hold out their hand, and everybody held out their hand. And then he said, everything that you own is in the palm of your hand right now. And it was unbelievable. And he said, and he just reminded you that everything that we have is just generational. Everything that we have is just going to get passed down to generation to generation to generation, because when all of this is said and done, the one who tells the sun to shine and the one who threw the stars to the night is the one that we get to go spend eternity with. And when we get up there, me having hands and legs for this little blip in my story here on earth just isn't going to matter. And I'm not going to think twice about it. So that was a lot of words. I'm sorry. That was so much.
No, man, I'm so glad to give you the platform, and I'm so glad other people get to hear your heart and hear your story and hear updates, and that we've been able to continue. I've had, you said this will be 224. So I've interviewed a lot of people, and a lot of those people was like, hey, let's keep in touch. And some I have, just so blessed that some I have, and some, we've said it and we didn't, but I've been able to do that with you. And the other thing I would say too is, again, I want to underline how your story could have been difficult. The seasons that you've gone through, it still can, but you're choosing, what you use, hashtag no more bad days. And I know I've reached out to you on a number of occasions, like I say, a handful, and where I knew somebody else could really use your encouragement. Might have another one for you here very soon, unfortunately. But unfortunately for the individual, but fortunately, I know you'll be able to encourage them. And you've said yes every time. Like it's never been a hesitation. Like, nah, I'm too busy. I don't have time. A friend that walked through a cancer battle, and you say he lost this side of heaven. We lost. He won. But you encouraged him twice, once over FaceTime and once with a video. You encouraged our local football team. Having a tough season, and had the opportunity to go and speak to him and gave him a little charge with a "Say I Won't," and you made a special video just for them. And that was such a cool moment for those guys. And, just a lot of ways that you've encouraged other people, to the point where my daughter last week, I was at an engineering night. It was a Shark Tank night. I got to go and be a shark.
Okay.
And the engineering class had to pick a project. And her project was to figure out how to get a system in place so that you could undo your belt buckle or your seatbelt. And her seatbelt. And man, it was really cool, that whole process. But the fact that you've impacted our whole family, she cared enough about your story and wanted to provide something in a way. And they came up with some really cool solutions. They got to go to an automobile facility that does things like this. And they got to talk to engineers, and they came up with mock-up things. And man, it was it was amazing. And I just smiled the whole time because I knew that, like, just the impact you've had on even my daughter and your story has. And so again, I want to say that thank you for everything and the way that you, even in your darkest days, you were still reaching out to other people to encourage them in their best day. And that's just so powerful. And it's been wonderful to just have a front row seat and watch and just see how you can inspire others. And I'm so thankful that I get to have, a phone call or a text to say, hey man, can you do this for me? And every time you say it.
Man, I love it. And I was going through some of my old text messages the other day and saw some of those text threads that I had with some of those people that, man, I can't wait to see again one day.
Yeah.
I didn't delete it. It's still in my text thread, and I have those, and even just looking at messages that I've sent to other people who are no longer here with us on this side of heaven, still just urges me and reminds me that God's not done with us. And, man, if there's somebody out there listening right now that doesn't know Jesus as their personal Lord and Savior, when everything else is done, when the noise is gone, when you're in your room behind closed doors, that kind of personal relationship with Jesus, not the Christianese one we put on when we go out in public or when we go to church, but the one that we have in the darkest times. Like if there's someone out there. Okay. So, all right, let's go here. It says in scripture that nobody knows the day or the hour when Jesus is coming back. Right. Well, I'm about to tell you when right now, I think. No, I'm not going to tell you when.
All right.
But I believe that the certain is, I believe that scripture is the breath of life. And the Lord says he has our names written down in the book of life. So I believe that when that very last person that's name is written in that book of life, when that very last person cries out to Jesus and accept him, boom, he's coming back to get us. He's not,
go get my kids.
He's not going to make us wait any longer. He's waiting for that last name to knock on the door so that he can open it, because he's just standing there waiting for us. So if that's you out there, I am begging you to get to know Jesus right now, because I want to go up there and see him. So if I'm waiting on I'm waiting on you to know Jesus, then get your stuff together, go know Jesus so that we can all have a reunion. Oh my goodness gracious. Like, thinking about that thought makes me want to get out there and tell everybody about Jesus. Because what if we're waiting on you? What if we're waiting on you to accept his free gift of salvation and grace and freedom and that peace that doesn't make sense? If we're waiting on you and that's you, and you know that you listening to you because your stomach is stirring right now, man, turn this off and don't listen to another word we say, and go talk to Jesus about it. And I'm praying for that. And I know you can reach out to me or Aaron anytime, and we can link long arms or tiny arms with you, and we can do life and go through those emotions. So that is where we're at in this life right now. And I have somebody knocking on my office door right now. So there we are with that. So I will stop there. But man, I hope that encourages someone. I hope that something that one of our words that we've said can just point someone else towards Jesus or back to Jesus or redirect or something. But again, this platform is everything, Aaron.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, man. You always have it. Even if it's next week, we have some great blooper reels whenever you need it. We've got stories that can't be told, and we've got stories that someday will be told. You have more coming up that we can't talk about. But there is more coming up. There's always more coming up for you, and to know about that. And there's just more coming. And so that's what we can say for now.
If
Gary at GaryMiracle.com is your email address.
That is
Mine is Aaron at Unscripted.com. And reach out to us, email us if something that Gary or I have said, most likely what Gary just said, really, like if you're questioning that, if you need prayer, any of those things. Also, GaryMiracle.com is your website.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? You can see the original interview on there. And I'm honored that that's on the front page right next to Mercy. Man. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yes. That's pretty wonderful. Cool. I love it.
Yeah. All right, brother. Well, you got a lunch date, I think, or somebody's standing at your door.
Yes.
You just.
And they won't stop. They're still knocking as if I like hear them or see them. So.
As long as it's not Jesus, because you said.
I've already answered that.
Okay. All right. You answered that knock. So we're good. Anyway, man, I love you. I love laughing with you and seeing you and seeing your family. And I might see you very, very soon, but we will be together soon. Give your family the best for me. Everybody, the whole family, everybody. Give them all the love.
They all love you and give it right back to you. So we will talk very, very soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Gary. We'll talk soon.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad. Be sure to like, share, and follow on all your favorite podcast platforms.
Also, make sure to check out our song, When I Think About You, on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you enjoy your favorite songs.
We'll see you next time on Unscripted
with Aaron Conrad.